Hey guys, I'm going to be trying to do a video tutorial to teach you something because I don't really know how else to do this whole group besides showing you through video. So we will see how this goes. I'm beginning with, this is aluminum wire that has a copper color. It's a 16 gauge wire with wire, the lower the number equals the heavier the wire. I'm straightening it out with just a good old trusty paper towel from the classroom here. And I'm gonna measure it on this ruler that one of my little lovelies in my class bent. So, I have calculated based upon, this is 1/4 inch graph paper, so I have counted all the squares and I have estimated that this leaf here will take about 11 1/4 inches. I find that out by counting them and then dividing by 4 since it's 1/4 inch, 1/4, it takes 4 of those to make an inch. So I actually came up with, like I said, 11 1/4, but I'm gonna go to 12 just to be safe. So I used this is a jewelry cutting wire cutter. And so I've used this one. This is called what the heck's it, the name of it? Flush cutter. It's called a flush cutter. All right, so I'm going to begin with just basically, I'm going to use this to trace this pattern up through with the wire. The wire bends very, very easily. So hopefully this goes easily. I think it will. All right, so we're gonna start with this little loopy at the end. This is what we're going to hang our sun catcher by. And I'm gonna do that with a round nose plier. The round nose plier is named that because on all sides it's round. And as you can see, it tapers down. So if you use this tippy tip, it's going to give you a smaller loop. If you use the base of it, it's going to give you the largest loop possible on here. There's different types of round nose pliers, but these are the ones that we happen to have gotten for the class and the most common ones. All right, so I'm just going to begin by bending it there. And now I'm going to kind of just work this into this shape. As you can see, this works very easily. Hopefully you can see, hopefully the video thing is working here. I guess I'll find out when I'm done. All right, now I'm coming to kind of a hard edge. And so I'm gonna take this is called a chain nose plier. And I'm going to take my chain nose plier and I'm gonna just kind of set it right at that spot. If you're off by a little bit, not a big deal. We have about 3/4 inch extra wire to work with. So I'm gonna give this a hard turn there to try to meet that section of the leaf. So right now I'm that. I'm gonna try to give this a little bit more of a straight bend on the edge because that's how the leaf itself is made. All right, now I'm gonna continue just following this pattern. I'm coming to a little bump here, so do I want to ignore the bump? Maybe, but I think I'm not going to. This one here doesn't really have those bumps, but this one does, so we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna take my round nose plier and kind of set it right in that little cruck right there, that little spot. And I'm going to kind of bend it that way, and then I'm gonna kind of bend it this way. This would work without doing all of those little nuances, but for the sake of trying it, let's just try it. Okay, here comes another one. Here comes another little bend in the road. Down. And then go the other way to bend more up. If it doesn't match it exactly, I'm not too worried about it. It's still the idea of a leaf. So I'm good with that. Bend it in, bend it out. If I find like this one is bent more sharply, that's pretty easy to to work that and lessen that. Let's try doing it without the pliers. It might work just fine that way too. I'm just kind of holding it in place while I'm maneuvering the wire. I'm trying to keep everything on this side pretty much stationary, because if I let that flop all around, then my leaf's gonna end up all kind of crazy. And we don't need crazy leaves, just like I just did there. I let go of it. Okay, now we're coming to the tip. So when we get to the tip, we are definitely going to be using our plier here. We want the teeniest spot to set right there, and we'll find out actually if I estimated enough wire, because I'm not quite sure now. I don't have that much left. Okay, so we got our little tip. And now that I needed to make the point fairly pronounced in order to look like a leaf, because that's what leaves do. So now I'm going to, though, take this spot. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do it. And I'm going to kind of bend that outward like that. It worked. Okay. Bend it like that. Bend it like that. If you do not want to do all this little bending and notching business, I don't blame you. And you don't need to. You can make a perfectly lovely leaf with one of these also. All the little nooks and crannies, they take a little extra wire too. So if I was like fancy, I'd have that music like the people like do on YouTube and stuff, but okay. So it looks like the wire length is going to be just about right. It's going to be enough. If you have a little extra wire, that's fine. If you have a little bit too little wire, that's not fine. So before I really truly know the measurement of something, the first time I make it, I typically will estimate a little high because you don't want to come up a little shy. Okay, so I'm coming to the point where I have something else to do besides just following the wire. The idea now is that we need to close this together. So that's what we have. And so I'm going to be taking this little tail here, this section there, and I'm going to be wrapping it around its original stem. And I want to be very careful when I do this not to have this pulled in, because that's going to completely change the shape of my wire. So this is probably the one kind of tricky spot right here where things could go awry. However, if things go awry, they can be unawried and it can be fixed. Okay, so this is where I estimate that spot to be. I want to come a little bit past it because it's going to take a certain amount of wire just to kind of clear that bend. So I'm going to take it here with my pliers and I'm going to start drawing a loop around. And kind of soon it's going to catch. Okay, I'm going to tighten this down a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to draw a second loop. I tend to be very, very neat with wire work, so I'm going to keep it really close. If somebody puts it like where this second loop lands a little farther down there, that's not really a big deal. It's just not my style. It's not the way I tend to do things. Also, these wires here are kind of sharp. If it's jewelry making, that absolutely has to be taken down with a file so that it's smooth. For the purpose of this, it really doesn't, because no one's wearing it around their neck. But just be aware of the fact that the wire ends can be sharp and scratchy. Okay, now I'm coming to the end. We don't want to leave this poking out though. This is called a bent nose plier. Bent nose pliers are the best thing there is for kind of drawing that end in there. So I'm going to take the bent nose plier and I'm going to just kind of work it in, get all the way to the end and give it a nice little kind of push at the very end. And there we have it. Leaf number 1. I thought I overestimated my amount of wire, and as it happens, no, 12 inches was absolutely the perfect amount. Pardon the gold paint on my nail from what we were doing earlier in art class. Okay. So there we go. There we go. There's leaf 1. The idea next is going to be, I guess, to maybe get this fairly flat, and then we're going to be adding in that stained glass stuff so that we can hang it from that and have a little sun catcher. All right, so I will do the second one, and here's number 1. I'll do the second one, which is probably a little less complicated. I estimated that one is needing 11 3/4 inch wire. So, no, I'm sorry, 10 3/4 inches wire. So I'm just going to stick to the 12. I'm going to keep with that. I probably could take a 1/2 inch off of it, but nah. All right. So again, just taking my wire, I'm straightening it with a towel. This, a washcloth, something like that, that's what I typically will straighten wire with. If it's sterling silver wire, I will usually use a sterling polishing cloth to do some straightening because it will clean it at the same time. Sterling tends to get a tarnish on it. This is not sterling, this is aluminum. Okay, so I got my bent ruler here. I'm just going to cut it right like that. Again, with my pliers, my wire cutters, rather. And I'm going to start with my little loop-de-loop again. So I liked kind of that middle spot, I guess, on the plier. That's pretty sharp right there. As I'm looking at it, I don't know if I have a file here or not. Well, I'm not going to file it because I'm on video and I kind of can't, but might be a good idea for me to bring the files in. Okay, so here we go. There's the loop. Loop can go to either side. It doesn't matter. So it's got just kind of a graceful natural bend here because it's a leaf. That I can do with my fingers. I can just kind of work it and pull it out. I don't want to go ink. I'm just kind of dragging it like that. Okay, and that's maybe a little too much. All right, so since I started to this side on the last one, I'm going to start to the same side. I could go the other side, but it's just more natural for me personally to do it this way. Again, I'm going to stick my chain nose pliers right at that crux right there. And just give it a little bend. This angle is not as sharp as this angle on this particular leaf style, so that's how I'm going to copy it. Okay, now this is relatively straight. It doesn't have to be straight. Again, in nature, no two leaves are going to be identical. Very similar though, it's amazing. So I'm just gonna kind of go in. It's hitting my tripod leg. The joys of technology. Okay, and I'm just sticking my pliers in those spots where it changes direction. So slightly off here, that's fine. Okay. This is a little bit more graceful, so I'm just changing kind of the method that I'm bending it with. Straighten this out. It's getting a little wonky. Okay. In truth, on this leaf, because the bends are not, it's not as like rigid, or ridgy, I guess is the word. The bending is actually going just as well, it seems, using my fingers on most of these. And realize that I've been working with jewelry pliers for a long time, 12 years on a very regular basis. So it's going to take you possibly longer to kind of do some of these bends. This is just something I'm super used to doing. Don't let that discourage you. It is just one of those things, like every skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it, the more natural it is. Okay, so here I am. I came to that same point again where I have to wind my little stem here back into my actual stem. So I'm going to bring this up to the same angle like that. And again, I don't want to put my chain nose pliers too close in here, because it's going to shorten my leaf. It will pull some of this length out of there. So I want to start this spot here. It's kind of a fat wire. 16 gauge is a fairly fat wire, so you have to account for that. Okay, so I got my first loop around here, and I'm holding this not like this. I'm holding it where I'm kind of pulling it out against, I'm kind of resisting pulling it out with my hands, because I'm trying to make sure that that doesn't collapse in and get skinny. I want to keep it pretty much in proportion to that, basically. But if it gets a little skinnier on that side, that's no big deal either. Okay, and this is where I would like to use my bent nose. They tend to do, wind around a little bit better. And I have a decision to make. I have an artistic call here. So do we want to trim off the extra, or do we want to have kind of a little bit of a stylized stem that has like this wrap design on it? And I'm going to go with that. I don't love wasting wire. As you all know, I don't like wasting anything. I'm forever nagging you about getting every pencil and every crayon and every little tidbit cleaned up so that it doesn't get wasted. Put those marker caps on. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm just continuing to wrap. And I find that if I pull from the tail like this, I can get it smooth. Oop, just got a little bend there, as I talked about being smooth. The Alanis Morissette song, isn't it ironic? That's probably before your day. Okay, so let's see. What do we got here? Okay, so there is leaf number 2. So leaf 1, leaf 2, now leaf 3. And leaf 3 is the simplest of the leaves. I think it's every bit as lovely as the other ones. It's just up to you what all you want to get into or what you prefer. So this one, I didn't even do my counting yet. I should, and I'll show you how it's done too. Okay, literally each one of these is a 1/4 inch. So you just count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you divide by 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm just estimating what a 1/4 inch would be going up here because some of them don't hit exactly. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. Okay, so I'm thinking 37-ish. 36 divided by 4 would be 9 inches, so 37 would be 9 1/4. So we will go with 10 inches on this one. And I think that that will probably land just about like the others did, because the other ones we had about an extra 3/4 inch. Okay, so first step, straighten your wire. I'm going to be giving you guys probably pre-cut wire. We'll be cutting it together because I'm going to need to do a bunch of kids, so it's probably going to be pre-cut. But you'll be straightening yours to work with it at your desk with a paper towel. Okay, so we have our bent ruler and we have our wire cutter. With a 16 gauge wire, if this was something like copper or silver, you would need a heavier duty wire cutter than this. But because this is aluminum, aluminum is extremely soft, the softest of the metals, the most easy to bend and the most easy to cut. So copper or sterling, you'd have to bump up a little bit probably to do 16 gauge or to do it many times without messing up your wire cutter. If you were using steel, like a stainless steel, that you would need something really, really heavy with, because stainless steel is, well, it's tough as steel. It's really tough to cut if you get into any heavier gauges at all. Okay, so our little loop-de-loop about middle. You guys are getting to be pros by now. Okay, and this just has a graceful little curve. So we're going to do that with our hands. Graceful little curve. And then, okay. Now you know which one. Okay, our chain nose plier. Plunk it right down there. And get our first bend in. Okay, pick that up and kind of secure it a little bit. And off we go. This one shouldn't take very long at all, because now we're getting rolling. We're getting used to this. Okay, there's that tripod leg in my way again. Okay, so with this one, I'm just going to focus on trying to keep it smooth, because this leaf itself is very smooth. It's got a little dip, which you can kind of do that to get that a nice little curve there. And I need my trusty, this is a tapered round nose. It's actually not my favorite round nose plier to work with. I like ones that have set sizes because then I can create designs that can be duplicated and know exactly the size loop that I need, like especially if I'm making earrings or something, something with more than one, you need to be able to make it the same way more than once. Or if you're making bracelet links, having a prescribed actual size is helpful. Okay, so I did the same thing I did on that first leaf where I kind of took it off of the paper and really did a bend. I actually overbent it because it can come back out, but I want that little like kind of notchy thing at the top there. Okay, so here we go. We definitely overcut on the wire, as we did, I guess, on all of them, but that's okay. It's okay. You can either snip it off or wind it around. So since we have been winding, we'll continue to do so. Okay, so I think I hear the custodians out there. They're probably like, who's that lady talking to? Has Mrs. Pisaturo lost it? Okay. So it's matching up right about here. I don't, let's see here. All right, I'm going to give this an actual bend here at this spot so that it doesn't start winding here down the leaf, it winds up there. Okay, so we're gonna bring this here, and the very tip, I'm gonna give it a little like chink to make it go straight this way. And then I'm gonna start my bend around right about here. So I have my spot marked. If you just keep your pliers in that same spot, even if you lift the wire up, you know where you need to be with it. So just don't move those pliers if you're trying to use them as a measuring device like I just did. Okay, so there's the first one. Now it's pinched in and it should be about right. It's about right. So now I'm gonna get, what are these called? Bent nose. Okay, so now I'm getting the bent nose pliers because I like them to do the continual wind. It's like a merry-go-round. Round and round it goes. And where it stops, nobody knows. Again, this is a pretty sharp edge. I don't know if you can see it there. Nobody's really going to get cut on this wire. It's, you know, the aluminum's not. Steel's really sharp. I've gotten drawn blood many times with steel because the wires are sharp and they can poke you. But aluminum, no, that's never happened. All right, my kiddos, so that is, I'm just trying to kind of like do a little reforming here to smooth it a bit. You know, just saw something I didn't like so well, and I'm going to kind of flatten it against here. So there we have it. I got to write down the measurements we used. But so we have our 3 leaves, and you can choose one of these, and I will know what size wire to give you based on which one you want. So, and we're not doing a bunch of redos on the wire. I bought that and just got it from Amazon. So I did not buy like a bunch extra. So we have enough to do this project for everybody to make a leaf. All right, darlings. I will see you, well, actually, I see you right now because I'm showing you this video. Okay, bye.